It takes a village to get me this far. It would take another burro to get this loosened up a bit to fit me so I can zip it. That's why I'm wearing this part.
You look great.
Thank you. I said so. It took a lot.
Somebody said it takes a village in the state of Texas, or somebody's what somebody said, but I don't believe that. Well, welcome and thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We're glad you made it.
Well, I'm delighted. I had no idea you'd all be here.
You didn't know that? They didn't tell you there's people waiting?
No audience.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought I was just going to have some pictures taken and answer some questions.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, so you all pretend like you're not here, okay?
Oh, no, I like it. One time, well, should I tell all this start?
Go ahead, yeah.
One time I had never, oh, when do I start? When I was a little girl, about 11, I had two younger sisters, 3 years younger and 3 years younger. And my mother, we lived way out in the country in Iowa. And I think my parents were probably bored out there a little bit. So we were sort of their entertainment. Well, dogs were thrown out on the highway, Route 6 straight through Iowa. We lived right there off the highway. And she'd take in a puppy or a dog and feed it and take care of it till it got killed on the highway again. You know? That's not about, there's an aproposness coming up.
I'm trusting you.
To you being the audience. Yeah. So when I was about 11, she took us into Des Moines and to a singing teacher. At 7, we'd gone for piano and dancing. Now here we are with a teacher singing. And I was about as far away from the teacher and my mother as you are, and with my little sisters. And I overheard my mother saying, well, she said they don't have any voices or anything. I just thought it'd be fun if they had a little trio, you know, just for fun. But I heard, they don't have any voices, do they? And I wanted to sing more than life itself, but I never did. And finally, I was in this thing that led to the Miss America contest many years later. Right. And I won a $1,000 scholarship for being one of the finalists in the Miss America contest. Yes. 1946. And 2 years, then I went to New York. Daddy came to the contest and gave me $60 for 2 days in New York. $60.
For 2 days, yeah.
I should have written a book, a tourist book. But I made it. So many stories. Anyway, I studied voice 2 years after I got to New York with Mary Martin's teacher. And I had gotten the part of the ingenue lead in a Rodgers and Hammerstein comedy in New York 3 months after I first got there from the contest. And I told the man who ran their office, John Fernley, I said, someday I'm going to sing for you. And he said, well, let me know. You let me know. I said, okay. So here I took some lessons. And then I read that they needed an understudy for the road company for South Pacific. I'm going way around. This is going to be apropos pretty soon.
We're along for the ride. So.
And so I called him up and I said, John, I am ready to sing for you. He said, okay. Because I thought, well, if I try out for the road company, I mean, I can't fail. And it'll be a sort of a general audition. I won't have to worry too much. I couldn't go on the road anyway, but I thought it was a good thing not to scare myself to death. And he said, well, I said, I'm going to Palm Beach. And he said, well, they're in Palm Beach, Rodgers and Hammerstein. So I said, well, good. So he said, well, come down. And so they called and said to meet Dick Rodgers on the beach. So I went there, took off my shoes, and going down there looking for him, found him, and squatted down, and we talked. So I'm saying, I'm going to sing for you. And he said, well, good. He said, when are you going back? And I said, well, next week. He said, well, when you go back, here I come all the way to Palm Beach. Yeah. When you go back, you learn a couple of songs with our accompanists, and then we'll be back, and you can sing for us. Right. So I did. And they came, and I sang the first song in South Pacific. Yeah. And then he said, would you come back tomorrow and sing for the director, Josh Logan? I said, yes. And he said, and learn the first scene. So I did. And I came back, and I sang this song, and then he jumped up, Josh Logan did, turned around to Rodgers and Hammerstein, and they're talking. And the next line of the scene is, shall I go on? So I said, shall I go on? And they knew that, and they turned around and laughed. They said, no. They said, we want you to play the part of Nellie Forbush. And we'll let you know in 2 weeks. It'll either be London or New York or the road company. The next day they called and said, it'll be New York for 4 weeks. So, and they said, this is for you. This is for you. You do whatever you want. You just do it. They wanted to give me that chance. And a lot of stories about that. But anyway, later they wanted to sign me to a 7-year contract and everything, but that all fell apart in lawyers' offices, so. But anyway, I was singing a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, it's 1976. Oh, no, let me see. No, it isn't. It's a live television show in New York, Sarah Churchill's show on Hallmark. It was a live show, and I was in it. So I got up at 6 and was there, did the whole thing. Then I ran down to the theater where they were doing the Ed Sullivan show. And they'd asked me if I would sing a song to honor Dick Rogers. And so I did, and I learned it might as well be spring. And I said, but what do you do with your hands? I'd only just seen Ethel Merman go, dun, dun, dun. Never mind the voice. What do you do with your hands?
Yeah.
And so, there's no business, no business, no business, I know. And so, never having sung in my life, even with the singing teacher, I just did, I never learned a song and sang it. All I knew was Rockabye Baby and one other song by the words. So I said, what do I do? They said, don't worry about anything. You'll be sitting in a swing. There'll be an orchestra. It'll be easy. I got there. I ran home to my apartment, shaved my legs, and I tell you, in those days, every single time I went like that, it would be a roll of skin.
Oh.
Just bleeding. So I wrapped toilet paper round and round and round. Both legs, ran out to Madison Avenue, got in a cab, and went to the theater with my legs like that, and there was an audience. That's apropos, see? You know, I think she's losing it a little bit.
That was kind of the early years, though, in speed reading. It took us right through it.
I brought you up to then. In 1976, there was a tribute to him on NBC for the bicentennial to Dick Rogers, and they asked me to do that. I did.
That's lovely.
But
Now, you're just tossing around these
that's
names
sort of
like, Rogers and Hammerstein and Josh Logan. And, I mean, you must have appreciated the kind of talent that you were auditioning for. Was it, did it strike terror in your heart when you had to walk down to the beach and find Dick Rogers and do your audition and, kneeling in the sand?
Well, I'd already met him 3 months after I got to New York. I want to tell you so many cute stories, gosh. Let me tell you how I first came to New York.
Absolutely.
I got in a train from Atlantic City with my $60 and a real sexy on the bias chartreuse and green little, what do you call it, something tooth, houndstooth check, little dress. And the little platform high-heeled black suede shoes that I wore on the runway. And a black straw hat on the train up to Grand Central Station. It was the hottest day of the universe. It was August, and we wore little girdles then,
Oh, Lord.
And I got off the train, and the heat of August, around, noon or 1.
Yeah.
The city was just dead quiet with the heat. And I had my little list from the tea party we'd had the day before with our contacts. Contacts. And I called with nickel. Every nickel was another call. And I couldn't get anybody. Nobody was answering. Finally, one guy answered. And he was a real Damon Runyon character. What happens? He said to come over. And I went over. And on the way, this is my introduction to New York. I was walking in my high heels and my little sexy dress and feeling myself, real, kind of like today. And it was a pretty long walk from the very east side, from Grand Central Station to 45th and Broadway. And I'm coming toward 45th, I'm on 45th Street coming toward Broadway. And looking around for this building, and just before I got there was a door that was open to a bar. There was sawdust on the floor, and this lazy, hot afternoon, dark and dank and smelling of old beer and stuff. 2 or 3 drunks leaning over the counter, and one woman, a little short woman with a microphone standing on the counter, singing, Oh, I love you so much, it hurts me. Isn't that funny? I thought, this is New York, don't forget it. And then, just to finish that little story of arriving, I found the building and went up and found him. It turns out that all these press agents, he was a press agent, and they all had bought this building in New York. Famous press agent, Eddie Jaffe was one, and a man who wrote for the Hollywood Reporter, who actually is the one, I was like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They all took care of me when I first got to New York. And this one man who worked for the Reporter took me to a play one night, through the opening of a play. And at intermission, he took me out we got up and went out to the outside part, and he introduced me to an agent who said, you look just right for a part I'm casting. And that turned out to be this ingenue lead in John Loves Mary, which was very interesting. So that's why I knew him.
There you go. Okay.
So you wanted to ask me something?
I forgot.
Does anybody want to say anything?
We'll get to their questions in just a second.
Well, he has a very important question.
Well, forgive me for this because it's so inconsequential.
Well, me too. Look who's talking.
The scene that you described just happened to remind me of Jacqueline Suzanne's book, Valley of the Dolls, the way it starts off, which was a wonderful bestseller of the 60s.
I didn't read that book. Yeah.
I just wonder, when they were casting the role of Anne for the Fox movie of Valley of the Dolls, the way that Jacqueline Suzanne described her, she was much more the way that you or blonde, you or Carol Lindley might have, been considered for the part, rather than the brunette Barbara Parkins. And if this was like the pivotal central character in Valley of the Dolls, I was wondering if you ever had the opportunity to go up with that.
I'm sure I was too young. But it was a good question.
There you go. There you go. When did you first know you wanted to be an actor? When did that dawn on you?
I never thought about it. My mother was just, I can't describe her so that what's the picture in my mind, in my experience, that you will picture her as she was. She was no ego whatsoever, wasn't a stage mother, just beautiful. She looked like Janet Gaynor, Olivia de Havilland, and Natalie Wood all put together. She was little, brown hair, brown eyes, Scottish and Bohemian, which is part of Czechoslovakia now. And just inwardly funny little stories. I'll tell you one funny story to tell you her kind of humor. Well, there are two funny. Let me just think of the one I went. Just the one I don't want it. I want to tell another funny story. Oh, in Des Moines, there's one big department store that is the department store. There's another one too, but this one is Yunker Brothers, Y-O-U-N, Conquer's Brothers, Yunker Brothers, and we didn't have any money. It was after the Depression, and I was born in 1926, and they built a little brown shingle house out in the country on Route 6. It wasn't even a neighborhood or community, and there was one house sprinkled every other acre or so, and most of those people worked on the Des Moines Register and Tribune. Wait, I have to remember which story I want to. Oh, so Mama didn't want to buy anything. We had a charge account there at Yunker Brothers, but she was walking through one day, and the milliner in the hat department knew her, Mrs. Leachman. And she was about 5'1½". She wore a size 3 shoe. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And Gordon Gammock, who wrote for the Des Moines Register and Tribune, always wrote Cloris Wallace. My mother's name is Cloris. Cloris Wallace is the prettiest girl in Des Moines. Oh. Yeah. And she was walking through, and this woman, the sales lady, said, "Oh, Mrs. Leachman." And Mom was looking at a little pillbox with a veil on the hat stand. And she said, "Isn't that a pretty hat?" And Mama said, "Yes, it's a very pretty hat." She said, "Why don't you try it on?" She said, "Oh, no." I just, just try it on. You know, you always feel like you have a run in your stocking or a slips hanging down or something when the sales ladies are so, wonderful. So Mama was kind of shy. Anyway, she sat down, and she's so little. Here's they're all dressing tables with 3 mirrors that had in those days. And the woman brought the hat over, and Mama's sitting there. And you don't touch the hat. She set the hat on my mother's head, fixed the veil, and Mama's sitting there. And she's looking. And then she had the hand mirror where you go all the way around and look. And then all the way around. What do you think, Mrs. Leachman? She said, well, I mean, I like it. She said, yes, it's such a pretty hat. Yes, she said, I like it. She said, but, she said, I have such a round face. And the woman said, well, she said, now, I didn't notice that so much, Mrs. Leachman. She said, but you don't have any neck. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. And your mom says?
Well, that's the kind of, but you know, that's the kind of story she would tell on herself.
Oh.
There was one other quick one. My father was a lumber dealer, Leachman Lumber Company.
Yeah.
And every year, all the lumber dealers were invited down to Arkansas to hunt, duck hunt and pheasant and so forth. So he always went every year, and he'd bring back wonderful stuff, and my mother was a great, great cook.
Yeah.
We had 3 little wooden carved ducks from some cheap place, I don't know. And she hung them on a string on the chandelier over the dining room table, and that meant we're going to have a duck dinner tonight with friends. There were 3 different parties, everybody, how was it, you know? And so one year the wives were invited down to the duck hunting. Well, that was huge. And they went down there, and Mama told how the first cocktail party they all had their glass. Mama's little finger was always up, little hand and little finger. And the host said, she overheard the host say, Fred, he said, come on over and meet the Leachmans, he said. And the guy said, he said, that son of a bitch and his dumb wife. Mama was all ready with her little glass. Oh, Lord. So anyway, that kind of humor really got under my skin because I was never funny or witty or quick or anything. My little sister was, and my father always had the last line of anything, which was funny, and then we knew that was the time, end of the dinner or time to go to bed. That's all, but that got into me. And she also was so imaginative. What was the worst thing that happened to you today? She'd say around the table. What was the best thing that happened to you? She got things. She always.
Yeah.
There was a play once in New York, and each scene, a man would come out with different things, like a percussionist, I suppose you'd call him. But he had a little suitcase with all sorts of magical things, sounds, and he'd change the ambiance. Well, Mama, if things were tense, ever among anybody, she'd come in and just quietly, just make it nice, make it pleasant, change it for the better.
Yeah.
And she always said we're all failing forward.
Failing forward, that's a great line.
And crisis to crisis and back to abnormal.
Well, we can see where you picked up some of your wicked
Yeah.
sense of humor then. Yeah. Is there a part of you that kind of looks at the work that way, of changing the ambiance or changing the tone? I mean, is that part of why you enjoy it?
I don't know that I would change. It depends on what.
No, I mean, the audience that comes in, they may have their own problems or concerns of the day, and you're able to take them out
You
of that.
want to pull them in.
Yeah.
You want to engage them, and because it's a two-way street, it really is.
Yeah,
I mean, they tell you how it's going, what you need to do,
you bet.
all kinds of things. If
Yeah.
it's funny, if it isn't funny, if you're trying too hard, if they can hear it,
Where did you go to school? Did you go to college and study drama?
I went to Northwestern.
Did you study drama there or theater?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't get the good, famous teacher, though.
You didn't?
Alvina Krauss, no, famous teacher. She taught Charlton Heston and a lot of big people.
Oh, okay. How come you didn't get the...
Well, because my counselor was about 23 years old, and she wanted me in her class.
Ah.
And Paul Lind, she got Paul Lind, and so we were all a little tight group there. We ran the school. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah. Did you, what kind of plays did you do when you were in
Well, I got the faculty award in my sophomore year, which is usually reserved for the senior year, from doing it's a Noel Coward play, Design for Living. No, it wasn't Design for Living. I did that later out here. It was another one. Blithe Spirit.
There you go. I like the way you found that, kind of, you know. It's like,
Well, they're dead, you know. spirit.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And I'd had dancing with Rose Lorenz in Des Moines once a week, and so I, and I said, "What'd you like to do?" To Claudia, and she said, "Just be flirty and floaty." Charles.
So,
You like these shoes?
I do like those shoes. Those are very nice shoes.
I've had them for a couple of years, but I've never worn them except once. And I'll never wear them again.
We're going to have to get a close-up of it so we can insert to it later on here.
Yes.
Those are very nice shoes. So after you graduated from college, that's about the time you headed out to New York?
See how you have to be careful because people assume things.
She didn't graduate. Oh, there you go.
Well,
What happened?
Well, way leads on to way. Mm-hmm. Way leads on to way. No, W-A-Y. Mm-hmm. Not W-E-I-G-H. Way.
No.
I don't know what I've done to myself. I think. I can tell you what I've had to eat though in the last 2 weeks.
So,
I bet you could too. Okay, all right. I'm going to
Steve-
start. Hello, everybody. Now
we're going to start again?
Yes.
Hi, Todd and Morty. How are
How
you?
do you
Nice
do?
to meet
Thank you for coming.
Why didn't you graduate from Northwestern? What happened?
Well, I was engaged to be married. Mm-hmm. In fact, I called Mama when I first got there. I said, "Mama!" My husband used to imitate how I would call home from New York once I got there. We weren't married yet, but he was.
Yeah.
Operator, I'd like to call Des Moines, Iowa, please. Mm-hmm. Mrs. B.C. Leachman, 64812. Thank you. Yes, certainly. Thank you. Hello, Mama! Oh, God. And we say things like, "Oh, yes, sir."
Oh.
I'm going to write a book someday, and I thought the title, this isn't a good title, it's a good chapter heading, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
Berkeley, with 3 E's, B-E-R-K-E-L-E-Y. Berkeley, you'd better come home and straighten out little Cloris. I imagine myself, this pretzel thing, wire, that he had to straighten out when he got home. Poor little Cloris.
Oh. You're not going to tell me about Northwestern, are you?
Northwestern. What happened? I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. So you wind up in New York City.
Oh, the contest.
Right. Brings it in.
Somebody entered my picture in this Miss WGN contest.
So it was
Took me out one night for a date, and I was sitting way over. I wouldn't, let him. If he touched me, I'd be poisoned. I thought in my mind.
Yeah.
You know how you play games. But I just was way over here all the time.
Right.
And he was with an ad agency, and he'd used me and a few other girls too for their ads for this advertising company at Northwestern. So he knew of me, and really, I think they just added me in. It was all, it's all states. Miss Carolina, and I was Miss Chicago. There's no other city. They had to add me in. But I didn't know about it until I got this telegram saying, "Congratulations, you're one of 20 finalists in the Miss WGN contest." Right. And there were 12 other contests in the city, and those winners competed for Miss Chicago, and then all that winner. Mm-hmm. But I had I'm not a beauty, but it said bring talent, bring evening gown or formal, they said in those days. And so I had a little radio audition material that I had somebody had
Well,
written
good,
for
because
me.
Noelle Michaels here asked, what was your talent for the Miss America pageant?
Well, I went to Miss WGN. I went to WGN that night. He drove me down there, and I was just laughing. I thought it was ridiculous. And so it was all in a radio studio, and I played some of Grieg's Piano Concerto, and I sang a little bit, and I did the little radio audition with different voices, as if I'm interviewing people on the street. And I finally said, what shall I do on the microphone? And they're looking through the glass of the studio. I said, take down your hair. Well, it's one of those things where you have one pin in your hair. I didn't even wash my hair. I just went down there. Yeah. But it had curled itself. And it just sort of cascaded like those movies where they take off their glasses and take one for another. Right. I love you.
Yeah, where have you been keeping yourself? Yeah.
So I won it. And then they said, be ready, Friday is Miss
Yeah.
Chicago. What?
Yeah.
What Miss Chicago? And so I went out and took a piano lesson, bought a new bathing suit, and showed up on Friday night. And they had us walk the figure 8. And it's very sedate. They said they're stressing talent. So we were all walking the figure, and then they all went to dinner. And I remember staying behind and walking the figure 8 about 150 times.
Just to get it right?
Well, just not to be nervous, half naked in high heels. I always think of Ginger Rogers saying whatever happened, however good it was, her side, she did it backwards in high heels, the
Right.
dancing.
Right.
So at the end of that night, Miss Chicago, they couldn't decide among 3 girls. And I was one of them, and they said, well, say something. It's so casual. We didn't have all the high-tech, high-powered assistants. So first girl was tongue-tied. Second girl lisped. And I myself don't feel so good. No, I got up there and I said, well, I'm not from here. I'm from Iowa. But my grandmother always said, you get in there and bring home the bacon. Congratulations, you're Miss Chicago. And so they crowned me with, it was 50 baby orchids on a wire, like a halo, and the thing, and a whole... And 2 other of the contestants, the finalists, had to carry me, how you carry some in your hands. And we all have to smile. But it's so mean to make them do that, isn't it, if somebody else wins?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to lose, though. Somebody's got to win, I guess. Huh?
Anyway, the next night, this man took me to the Shapery in Chicago, and then the pump room. And everybody was betting $50 on whether these flowers... Well, I crushed this wire into a little tightly together, so the flowers all came together, made a little hat, and I wore them with a darling little suit. And people were making bets about whether they were real. So I'd done Chicago. I'd won that award with the faculty in my sophomore year. I'd certainly done Chicago with the Shapery. I'd won the contest. What else? I'm supposed to go back to school now, go back down? No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So I went to New York.
Yeah.
And then I got in this play 3. I read on the stage for Rodgers and Hammerstein. Can you imagine? But I wasn't scared at all. I had no idea. A few years later, a couple of years later, the first year after I got there in the end of 46 in August of that hot day. Then a year later, my agent called and said, go to this address and meet this man called Elia Kazan, K-A-Z-A, E-L-I-A, K-A-Z-A-N. Capital E-L-I-A, capital K-A-Z-A-N. So go and learn to take a scene down there. Well, I don't know any scene. I'm not going to read plays. I'll read other things. So I found something called a guest in the house. And I had a pink, it was a dressing gown of crepe, silk crepe, rosy pink, and with a zipper up the front. And I had almost been raped when I was 15. I was still kind of a little girl. I really wasn't developed. And that day, the next day, it all happened. But before that, I was going home in this taxi driver. I had this little princess-style blue dress on with a lot of gathers. It sort of gathers and opens here, a high neck. And I had a black walnut where at Y Camp, you cut the walnut and put it on a string, and it makes beads, and you lacquer it. Well, I had that on in my blue dress, but nothing was in it. And my first little high-heel shoes, which were 1.5 inches high, sort of alligator-looking, orangey-brown shoes. And I was just chatting all the way home, and I'd done some little reading for the Women's Club or something. My father had met me, put me in a taxi, 4822 Lakeview Drive. And I'm just chatting all the way home, and it was a terrible blizzardy night. And as we passed my house, he said, you don't have to go home. And I said, oh, yes, I do. My mother's waiting up for me. I thought I was very clever. He kept driving and finally down this ravine. And isn't this exciting?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And it was very dark except the one light on this huge blizzard storm. And he got out of the passenger side, took off his hat and his jacket, and got in and closed the door and went to work. And something, I don't know, I wasn't scared. And I said, finally I said, "You take me home."
Yeah.
Well, it was as if I'd hit him in the face with a wet rag or said, "Whoa." You know, he came back to normal and stopped, and he put his hat on, put his jacket on, got in the front seat and drove me home.
Oh my God.
But cab number 146, you see how I was thinking all the time. And then I told my mother, and then the next night my father came home. And I had to tell him, and I didn't have words of vocabulary. Nothing in the English language had we ever said between us that would help me to tell him. And my little sisters were listening in the hot air register upstairs. It was a big deal. But then I was sent to see how I round things out and come back to it.
It's coming back around.
So I was going to do Guests in the House, and that story is of the marriage. I don't know, maybe it's not going so well. The wife leaves, goes to the train station. He takes her there, the husband. Comes back, and the guest in the house is waiting for him. And so I decided that since I'm alone now with him, I'll make it the way I would have it in my house if it were mine. So I pantomimed with Kazan, changing things on a shelf and doing that. And I had this zip-up dressing gown, and when it got to the point where I say to the husband, "Kiss me, kiss me." And it was just like the cab driver had said, "Kiss me, kiss me." And which now we'd call sense memory. But when I finished, Kazan said that part was the best part. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, that's great.
See, nothing's wasted.
Right.
What was the question?
I don't remember because the answer was so
it was
good.
why didn't I go to North?
No, we've covered that. We've covered that.
You
Yeah.
think so? There are other stories. That's enough of that. Okay, next.
Well,
Question 2.
Well, you were just talking about Elia Kazan. Who did you study? Did you continue to study when you were in New York? Did you study?
Well, I stayed there 2 years, and then he left. And then Marty Ritt came in. And then Lee Strasberg came in. And then I quit. One reason is that Kazan had left. The second reason is the smoking was insufferable. It was just gray, and I just couldn't stand it. And then I thought if Kim Hunter ran her hand through her hair one more time, I would just scream and either tear her hair out or my hair out. I should apologize to her. We all have our own habits, but that was hers. And Rod Steiger, I thought his fingers smelled terrible, and I was doing a scene with him, and I couldn't stand it. Although, those are terrible things to say, but
But that's
you
what
get
you
down
remember
and dirty.
of it. Yeah, well,
get
there
down
you
and
go.
dirty when you're working.
What did you feel that you learned during that time? I mean, what was
Well,
the value of
Kazan
the
came back a couple of months later. He said, "I just came back to tell you one thing." Well, what? Objects, he said, objects. And so if anyone knows my work at all, you'll know, maybe you won't, but some of the things I've done that tickle me, that I really, I don't know how they come, but things come up, are objects. Because rather than, the old kind of soap opera acting, we called it, soap opera acting is very different now. It's very, very, very good. But in those days, it was... Well, he would have you do something, to show you're upset.
Right.
Another way, whatever you do when you get upset. Maybe start itching, I don't know.
But you liked that work with objects.
Well, it was like, it just opened up a place in you that you don't know what's going to happen, but you leave room for something. You let it, and you don't stamp on it so fast that it's killed before it can find its own life.
Yeah.
I could tell you 2 or 3 things, but...
Please.
Shall I?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did play in Chicago called I'll tell you what, I can't think of the name of it now. Yeah, A Little Family Business.
There you go.
And my husband has an attack of angina. We're in business together. And his secretary, a very pretty young woman, is there being very helpful, a little overly helpful, in fact, too helpful for anybody who is married to the man. And they're all crowded around the children, the growing children, and the secretary, and I'm the wife. I wish I could help him, it's on the sofa. And I'm trying to get in, and so in rehearsal, I asked this young actress who had long hair, I said, would you take your hair down? Would you mind? She said, no. She took it down. So now, the audience knows she's way over helpful to him at my expense. And I don't show anything, but as I told you, because then you don't show it with your face. So I'm trying to help him, and her hair's in the way, and it's in her face. So I'm just trying to help her, get the hair out of her face and get in. I can't. And it's pretty long hair. I got my hair, it's over my arm now, and then over maybe this side, and I get the hair over my arm. It's like a horse's tail. There's all this hair over my arm. And now I'm trying to get in. They're still crowding. And I kind of, when you wind it that tightly, it curls over itself.
Yeah.
And it did that. And then I put it that way, and I pulled it through. And of course, it stopped the show. I was screaming, laughing, and applause. And all I did was nothing. I didn't say a word. I just
dealt with the
and
hair.
then she got up, and I was able to help my husband. And the audience who loved it, that's a fun thing.
That's great.
For instance.
That's great.
One time I did The Migrants. And I was nominated for an Emmy for that. But I came home with some bags of groceries one afternoon and turned on the television in my room, and I saw Miss Jane Pittman with Cicely Tyson walking to the fountain. I said, bye-bye, Emmy. I'd been nominated. Bye-bye, Emmy. I went to the kitchen, went on about my business, and she won. But these migrant workers in such a tight place, they can't get out of it. They always owe money to the foreman. It's just horrible. And which of those stories I want to tell you? At the start of it, Ronnie Howard is my son, and my daughter, darling. Who is she?
Remember? No?
She did The Wonderful Country Singer many years ago.
Oh, Sissy Spacek.
Sissy
Yeah.
Spacek was my daughter, trying to get out of that ghetto. And we're in this place where they house these people. It's terrible. And we're trying to get on the road, and Ronnie's coming back with a tire. There's been a flat tire, and he's running back, and we've got to get there or we'll lose a day's pay. We've got to get in the caravan that's going. And so I'm packing as fast as I can. And then this teacher comes to the screen door to give my little girl an honor that she won at school. She's about 9. And I have this lovely scene between the screen doors between us, through the screen door talking. And, I have to get in the road, that's all I know. And my character just kept pulling me along. So I'm packing, I go out the screen door, pack the car, come back, and she said to the director who was outside, what shall I do? And the director yelled in, follow her. Isn't that interesting?
That's great.
So we did. And then finally, I just shoved my daughter in the car and my son. And we're off, and the teacher's running after the car. Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Oh, my
Isn't that
goodness.
wonderful?
That is. That's just,
There was another one, that I loved this one. The Woman Who Willed a Miracle was an evening primetime project. But somebody at ABC said, who wants to watch a blind kid for 2 hours on prime time?
yeah, right.
So we became an afternoon special. We still all won Emmys anyway. No time, no money. That's when I'm good.
Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah, pressure.
You'll like your pressure.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to tell you. The thing opened with a nurse sitting in our little living room telling us with a baby, she'd just come from the hospital, this baby's going to die if it won't take a bottle. It's never sucked, it's never eaten, it's blind, its eyes were removed at birth, the father's gone, the mother's gone. And I say, well, nothing dies with May, what's her name, something like that. And the woman's explaining everything, the nurse. And so then the producer flew to St. Louis, where I was doing a play, and he wanted my notes, so I made notes and we talked. And then I flew up to Wisconsin, took a cab 30 miles out to this place where they lived, and this boy became, he was a, I was going to say enfant terrible. He was, you know, where part of your brain really is a genius.
Savant.
Savant.
Yeah.
He was a savant. He was. And he's been on television and with this little English woman. And so when I went up there, Joe, her husband, was standing there with there was a mailbox in a pail of cement on a wooden thing. And it's just the way they did everything. So I told him how I'd like it, and he made it possible. So this taxi arrives when we really did it. Taxi arrives, and I had rolled the window of the taxi down just so I could get my arm in. And so it pulls in slowly, and the nurse is holding the baby in the taxi. And I reach through, as the taxi's going slowly, I'm running with the taxi, putting my arms through there, just enough that I can grab the baby out of the taxi while it's still going, I grab it and start walking with it into the house. Then I notice its eyes, and I ask, so I'm finding out as I'm going in with the baby, and she's running after me, trying to tell me, I've already taken the baby, it's mine. Right. You know, I'm going to raise it, it's not going to die.
Yeah.
But just to get started that way is exciting if you have the freedom or the confidence. And I don't know what I'm going to do. In fact, they sent 2 prop men to my house because no time, no money. I said, I don't know what I want. I don't know what objects I want because until I start working, then well, please, Cloris, if you can think of anything. Yeah. And then, all right, I knew that this little woman was an English woman in the upper country of northern England, and this mother would take in GIs and help them recover and take care of them, give them bandages and feed them. And the husband died, and so did the brother. They were gassed in the First World War. This little woman, May Lemke was her name, was blown up in a munitions factory at the age of 14. Everybody was killed except 3 people. And she was in the hospital for 2 years. She was 4'8" at the age of 14, and she never grew after that. So I wanted to be 4'8", and I was. I'm 5'3", but this little woman, we hired bigger people, and I said when the prop men came, all right, I want a big capon, the biggest one you can find. I want to cut up a chicken. I wanted to show that I'd been a farm wife, because her mother arranged for her to marry a GI, and it's a long story. But that's not part of this story. It's just I wanted to show I was capable, I know.
Right.
So this little woman, so I said, I want some big shears, and I want to use it 3 times. I want to cut up a big capon, which I did to show I know how to do. I want to cut the little boy's hair on camera. Oh, he hated it. Oh, he hated it. But anyway, it was And this little woman would go to dances every Saturday night, and she made her own clothes. So when I went up to visit, I saw how she did it. She doubled the material, put it on the floor, and cut it out with scissors, and it was like a paper doll. So she'd sew this part and this part, put a belt around it, she'd go to the dance.
There you go. Wow.
Did you want to say something? No.
What I hear in your approach is that you think about the character, you make some choices, but then when the time comes, you let those choices perhaps lead you to unexpected places. Is that fair to say?
I don't even think, I know they're in acting, they teach choices, make choices. It's not so much a thinking process as just kind of living. Do you know what, one time, this sounds so nothing, it's even hard to talk about. It's so nothing. But if you really think about it, it's quite an amazing idea, I think. If you lie in bed at night, everybody since the world began, everybody goes to sleep. Everybody goes to sleep. Now, who goes to sleep? Catherine of Russia, Napoleon, the Queen of England, a beggar, somebody with a terrible disease. Everybody So when you're lying there at night, rather than thinking, I wonder what Napoleon was really like, just you are Napoleon in bed thinking about the tomorrow. What are you going to do tomorrow? What happened today? God, I better get my books and that and get them out to the battlefield, you know. And oh God, I wonder what Josie's doing. And my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Keep them apart. Or the Queen of England, you know, who's going to break through the walls tonight? Oh, that bad girl, Diana, you know. But you can lie there and be anybody you want to be. And that lets you in another way to think about somebody. I just think about the circumstances. Really, is it cold? Is it hot? Is it... how are you feeling? What do you want to do? What interrupts you? How do you feel about what somebody said? So we all know in learning our lines that, when you're talking to the director, when you say whatever, you say something, and then I say, and you say your words, you have no idea what they're saying. You don't care.
Right,
You're
blah,
learning
blah,
your own
blah,
line.
my line, yeah, right.
And you say, well, and then I say. Well, then about the third week, is that what you're saying? Oh, and you have a
Actually
different
listening,
reaction then when you really hear it finally.
Yeah. There's several questions in here about what your approach is, and I think you've talked about some of it. But
you get clues from the script and from other people. Everything. You walk on a set, there it is. You get clues from the clothes. You choose. One time I wanted to do something in a play I was doing with Henry Fonda. And there's a young girl in it who's with an older man, a major or something, in my house. And, she's insufferable, this character, this little girl. And today, she's just going on and on and on and on. Don't you think so? She says to me. And I say, I do. And so I said to the prop man, I need something. He said, what do you need? Well, I don't know. What do you think you want? Well, I don't know. Candy? What kind of candy? Well, I don't know. The hard or soft? Hard, covered or uncovered? Well, covered. Wrapped or unwrapped? Wrapped. In a stemmed thing or just a stem? One color, many colors. I don't know. I don't know. I just need something.
Right.
Well, there it was. Now she's going. So I just look. There's the audience, and I'm looking. She's over there. So I just take the top off, and I pick one, and I unwrap the wrapped hard candy. It's about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch round hard candy. And with don't you think so? Frack. And it got a hand. It's just silly business.
Yeah.
Isn't it silly business?
Yeah. And yet it makes so much sense somehow.
Yeah.
What about the character work? What about when you're developing the character? Does that come out of more external things?
Well,
or do you look into life and find people
external.
that-
Where is it? Southern? Is it what region of the country or state or land, country?
Marvin Kaplan asks a specific question. At what point do you deal with the externals of the characters? Speed, the walk, the wardrobe, the mannerisms? Does that come earlier on in the process or later in the process?
I did something called Old Ma'am it was called, I have to think of the name. My character was Old Ma'am, and a girl named Sooner. I was an old Floridian hill woman. So we shot it in Indiana down near the southern border. And on the way down there, I was doing Phyllis in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And I thought, now, this is a real character, an older woman.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
And I thought, people were just getting used to putting my face with my name. My hair was quite long, and I was thinking, I don't want to just bend over and be an old lady, still be Phyllis, bending over like an old lady. What can I do? I'm asking myself. So I decided I want to look like a picked turkey. Picked turkey came to me. I want to look like a picked turkey.
Okay.
So I put my hair up and put a man's hat over it. And I was made out, they used a lot of
Latex.
Latex, yeah. And I wanted these low-hanging things, and the wardrobe woman wouldn't do it. Well, we argued back and forth. She said, no. I said, well, I used to be like that, now I'm not anymore. No. 5 minutes before we did it, she finally found an old brown, put some birdseed in it, you know, it's like that down here. Perfect, real flat. So, and I had an old skirt on and some men's boots and a shirt with no collar and a rope and gloves, leather gloves. And I didn't know what kind of accent until the woman who was cleaning my room came in, and I said, oh, talk into this, and I got it. And I remember one line, if I can recall it, I'm making illegal whiskey. I'm at the fair with my mule and a wagon, and this FBI man knows me, and he says, now listen, you've got to get out of here, I've got to arrest you. It's illegal to make and sell this whiskey. And so I say, my line is, I can't get William to move, not by myself. William's my mule. So with this accent, I said, well, I can't get William to move, not by myself. She gave me the accent.
Oh, that's a great accent.
Well, I can't get William to move, not by myself. It's so much fun.
That's great. That's just great. Well, let's jump ahead to a little bit, if you don't mind.
I thought I was way ahead.
Well, we'll go wherever we're going to go next. Let's put it that way. Let's talk a little bit about the time on Mary Tyler Moore and Phyllis and all of that. Tell us your recollections of that and what was it like? You were working with some, again, with quite a group of legends.
Every time I walk in, I always say, hi, hi. And that came because, I just would say, hi, hi. And because television, talk fast because it's going to be a commercial, you know. If you watch acting, especially with younger ones, they take a great deal of time. No. Because they learned that, because Marlon did all that. And
Right.
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But it's great. But I know otherwise they're going to cut. And if
louder, faster, funnier, right?
I guess so. And I remember not Josh Logan, Richard Rogers, when we were doing that play at New York in the early years. You have a breath. He said, have a breath. So that the other person, you can come in before he's finished, right as soon as he's finished, or wait. It's your choice then. And so timing, you're in charge of it then, for the most part. Isn't that a good?
It is. That's a great tip.
But also they come right on. And now we wouldn't do that.
Right.
We don't act that way anymore.
Right.
As a rule. But for comedy, that's what you did. You keep it going.
Keep it moving. Yeah. What do you remember about? Did you have to audition for the role? Let's start with Mary Tyler Moore, and then.
Well, I guess
obviously
Mary's
spin-off.
book. Mary wrote an autobiography, and I read it, and it recalled to me what I had done, but I'd forgotten until I read that. And I don't know specifically what I said, but apparently I went in and said something like, "Who's the big guy here, or who can make the decision, or who?" And they pointed to this man, and I went over and sat on his lap. And it was Jim Brooks.
Jim Brooks, yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, isn't that funny?
That's great. Are you a big believer in taking chances, risks in auditions?
I don't believe anything. I just you
go in and
get
do
there
it.
and do what you can.
Yeah.
Given.
Get the darn job.
Yeah, that's one thing. That is true.
Yeah.
I never go to try out. Never. I go to get the job. My mother once said when I was 17, the war was on, and it started when I was 15. And I heard her say to Berkeley, take Cloris and drop her off downtown, and don't pick her up till she gets a job.
Kind of
So
drives
I
it
went
home.
downtown and got a job, and he picked me up and brought me home and we had dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't ask. And one time, I say it every interview they ask me. But one time when I was 11, she said, why don't you? She looked out the window a lot while she was watching washing dishes. There's a pasture out in back with some cows and a creek.
Yeah.
Why don't you go down to the Lone Tree Filling Station, which is about a half a mile down on Route 6. There's a truck stop and a cafe, and see if you can get a ride into town. They were auditioning for a little fairy tale story that they did every Saturday morning from Drake University.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where Drake University is. I don't know how I got there. But there she was hanging out the front door, and I was coming by on the running board of a coal truck. And I said, I got a ride, Mama. I went, okay. I was never scared, never.
Yeah.
One time when I was 11, I had studied piano once a week with Cornelia Williams Hurlbut, who's Andy Williams' aunt. And they used to sing at our dance recital once a year and come out to our house for picnics and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was in love with me. He was a year younger. But I was in love with Dick, who was a year older than I am. He was 8 and I was 7 and Andy was 6. Later I did a game show of something and I won a grand piano that I gave to Cornelia Williams Hurlbut. And Andy has it in his house now.
Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
She was wonderful, and that was a huge influence in my whole life because I started when I was 7 and she would listen to me. Uh-huh. I don't know how much piano we did, but we got done, but she was always so interested in, my gosh, somebody's interested in you. Isn't that amazing? Just to listen. Really in an interested way.
Absolutely.
Not we have to get this piano lesson done.
Right.
But it makes you want to do well.
Uh-huh.
I wish everybody knew that.
Absolutely.
I wish parents would stop saying, oh, you're grounded, as if that's going to... Is that the stupidest thing you've ever heard?
Yes.
Well, especially now. I mean, my daughter goes, great. Internet, cell phones, all just...
My mother
she plays.
never got mad at me, ever. Or any us 3 children. Never got mad at us, and she never punished any one of us. And the most she ever did was very rarely, I remember once or twice, maybe 3 times, she'd be sitting on the tub in the little bathroom out in the country there. What's the matter, Mama? What's the matter? Well, she said, I just thought I'd have 3 lovely daughters, and we just cook and and sew. And she said, where have I gone wrong? Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Say, oh. And one time they didn't know what to do, what color to paint the living room and the sun porch. And I'm in New York, and acting. I got on a plane and came out to Des Moines, went to a paint store, got some kind of magenta kind of color for the living room and something else with a green, gray, something for the porch with all the plants. Yeah. And so we're all up there with rollers now and ladders and Mama and everybody. Mama's up in a ladder with a rose, what is that called? Antique rose, or it's a grayish rose color, old rose kind
Dusty
of color.
rose or
Carved carpet.
Yeah.
And I thought this darker, deep red would look pretty, which it did. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, don't you know, the whole paint can spilled on the carved old rose. And she, as she said many times, she said, I don't know why I ever try to have anything nice. Isn't that sad?
Yes.
Oh, poor little thing. One time I was outside, I was a little kid. We could find out how old. But she used to have to go under the barbed wire fence with Mary, my 3-year younger sister's little red wagon and 2 buckets. Because the well dried up in the summer. Daddy finally built a cistern when we moved, and she washed everything, and she was furious that's all. My little girl growing up, when she was really furious, the most she ever did was.
Yeah.
Well, my mother didn't even do that. I never saw her furious in her life. But she'd go under this barbed wire fence and along a little path through an acre to the Abbott house, through their yard, to the other acre, and there was a pump. Mm-hmm. And she'd pump 2 buckets and back in the little path through the Abbotts and back through the empty acre under the barbed wire fence, and invariably it would tip over. Oh, God. And she'd have to go do it again. But I do remember one time when she'd done that, and she didn't tip it over, but she was crying a little bit. And we had a kidney-shaped fish pond right there. And I always thought the word kidney-shaped was
Yeah.
spoiled the fish pond. It's a kidney. I mean, in Italy, they're always saying, oh, fegato, fegato. Fegato is liver in Italian, and it's on the menu. But everybody's always suffering, too. Fegato. I could never eat that or...
Yeah.
Well, here it is, the liver-shaped kidney
Pool.
pool,
Yeah.
liver-shaped pool. And I was little, and she was kind of teary. Mama, what's the matter? She said, oh. She said, Jean Harlow died. Isn't that something?
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you use your mom as a kind of a basis or a part of any of your characters or aspects of her?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We had a next-door neighbor named Mrs. Driscoll. We all went over there when her little dog died, and it was laid out in the basement. Oh, Mrs. Driscoll.
Dog funerals.
She once said to me, you be good to your mother. She's a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mom always was very loving with her.
Yeah.
But she would set up card tables and a bridge game with many farm women, I guess, in the area once a month. And there'd be tuna salad and lovely napkins and silver and crystal and lunch.
Right.
And here's how they would, I did this once in a play, again, screaming and yelling in a hand. And here's what they do. You have to be very patient. They have their hand cards. And they'd be playing cards. And then somebody'd say something funny. And, well, everybody would start laughing. Oh, would interrupt the game for a minute. And really laughing with each other. Shoot. So I did that on stage once, and everybody got
That
it.
reads so real.
Isn't that funny, huh?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Well, we better get to some of these questions here from the members because we're running low on time.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, we are, but we'll get through as many of them as we can. Lori Allen asks, do you think
Lori
today...
Allen?
She's one of the people. There she is, right back there. She wants to know, do you think today an actress can play as across the board in so many categories, ingenue, comedian, as you have been able to do throughout your career? Do you think anybody today could come up? Is there anybody that's able to cross over this way? And what was your secret, for goodness sakes?
Well, we all do it in our own way, but I would say Meryl Streep has done the most remarkable thing. Most remarkable. Just outrageous, balls out things, and then just the most incredible, sensitive, astonishing things. It's possible. I think you do have to not be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Really have a little funny bone, and I guess you have to be confident enough that you don't scare a director. Who said, no, keep it going the way they might visualize it. I remember once a director said to me, I said, he said, do what you feel. I said, I don't feel anything.
Perfect.
I didn't have enough information.
Yeah, well, right.
Well, in the same thing with the Henry Fonda. I had a part that was the hardest. He says, what was the hardest role?
Yeah.
The hardest ones are the ones that aren't written. You have to sort of connect the dots, and you don't want it to end up like a duck, so you have to think of how. So my character was the daughter-in-law of Henry Fonda, and the husband and I live in the house, and he lives in our house, and I take care of him. And the army's coming to ask him to do something for them. So I'm preparing for them to arrive. And all it says is I cross the stage left to stage right, and put ice in the ice bucket and go back.
Right.
Well, I did that, and all the time I thought I'm going to be fired. I'm not doing anything. I don't know what to do. I got the idea that the character was kind of halfway depressed or something, so I was kind of halfway depressed. That's boring. And I couldn't find a way, and they all came over to see how it's going, and over the weekend something happened, and I was able to change just a feeling into an action. And I can't remember what it was, except that as a result of kind of getting active, I had the ice, and in that cross, I crossed. Can I walk? Is it
Yes, please.
attached to anything?
Yes.
I had the ice bucket, but I just came. I better start on this side, because I'm left-footed. Well, you find out if you're going to be left-footed or right-footed. You'll see you can't do what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So I come across, and I put the ice in the ice bucket. But now this time, having changed a little bit, I had the ice, and I'm looking at everything to see if everything's all right while I'm crossing, and I put the ice in, and I come back. The sofa's here. I guess the audience is out there. And I had the ice bucket, and with my left foot, and I got the cushions the way I want them. They're all flat. I kicked them up. I plucked them up with my foot. A hand and a laugh again. That's in the first 5 seconds of the show.
Yeah.
It's just a real thing that people do. Women do that.
Right. So you find
But
those actions.
I didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
And then finally it happened. Something happened.
You like to fly without a net, don't you? I mean.
I guess.
Yeah.
The director, we were just going to go on the air, and we were in Texas at SMU on the stage there. They were trying to do regional theater on television for NBC. And I'm still looking, how am I going to... And the director knew it. And he was giving us a big pep talk. And he saw me look up above the door. There was a deer's head up there with antlers. And he just saw me looking up. He said, "No, Cloris, no. No, not the deer head." He didn't know what I was going to say, but he didn't want me to say it. No, too late. And somebody, there's an actor who tells this story on me that in live television, they were counting down to action. 6, 5, 4, 3. Should I marry him? Hello, how are you? I was still, should I get married or not? I was able to.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Just turn it on when you had to.
Yeah.
Frida here asks.
Frida, where are you?
Where's Frida? There she is,
See,
right there.
Frida, I knew. Okay.
She wants to know about Young Frankenstein. You were wonderful in Young Frankenstein. Did you have a fun time making that film?
And what?
Did you have fun on that film and working with Mel Brooks?
Was your question, did I have fun?
Yeah.
That's a stupid question. Well, what do you think? Oh my God.
Where did Frau Bucher come from? I mean, where did? Yeah, thank you. I do say.
I guess Mel Brooks told me it means
German for
glue.
glue.
Yeah.
Blucher means glue, and the horse is glue.
Right.
I was trying to do horse's eyes, but it's more this way.
What was it like working with Mel Brooks? I mean, how does he work? What's he like as a director?
I don't remember. I just think he'd run back and look at what we'd done on the, what do you call that? The monitor back there.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back and maybe we'd run and look at. In fact, I'm not even sure we did it in that high anxiety we did, but I don't think we did in Young Frankenstein yet. I'll tell you one thing, a wonderful thing he said. I'm stay close to the candles. The staircase can be treacherous. Here's the note he gave me, it was so much better. So then I did it, and here it is. Stay close to the candles. The staircase can be treacherous. It means we've lost 2 or 3 people there, doesn't it? Can be treacherous. I wish I had done it. I wish I'd said, stay close to the candles. The staircase can be treacherous. Yes,
There's one right there.
Still some blood down there. The staircase can be treacherous.
Was he enjoying the work as it went on, or is
Yes.
he taking it seriously and laughing afterwards? I mean, was it
Just energy and
Yeah.
focus and
Yeah.
and doing the work.
Uh-huh.
Gene was the worst. He was just, I was just going to kill him one time.
Gene Wilder was
One of the scenes that didn't get in because there was, there was enough for 4 days.
right.
Oh, you just hate to lose all the good stuff. Well, I had a big revolver down there, and he said, "Don't let me out. Don't let me out. No matter what I do, I scream or cry, beg." And he'd start laughing at me if I'd say a line. He'd laugh, and he couldn't. I just opened my mouth, and he started laughing. I'd turn and say, "Stay," and he'd already just be like a geologic fault. It just separates. You'll never see my best timing because he starts laughing. I said, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to kill you if you."
Ruin one more take. Yeah.
No, but he was darling. We loved
Have you ever had that experience where you just have gone up and laughing
Oh,
and
my
can't
God,
get
one
out of
summer
it?
in
And what do you
summer-
do to get out of it?
We
'Cause
just laughed till the producer threatens us with death.
then you got your motivation and
But
everything's
you
fine.
just laugh harder. I did Showboat, and there was one sentence that I couldn't say. I mean, I wish I knew the words right now. And the camera Ned Beatty was playing opposite me. And he'd, because every night of this thing, thinking, and he'd make me laugh just by his looking at me. So I'd always look up stage at the other leading woman who was a singer who sang the great songs from Showboat, like Bill or what. And finally out in the backstage in the hallway one time, she said, "Cloris, why do you keep doing this? I'm trying to be better." I said, "I know, so am I. I can't do it." She said, "Well, slow down." Oh.
Well, there's a thought.
Well, I did, and it was perfect. And then he, of course, goes, and I laughed again.
Off to the races, yeah.
He made me laugh again. It's terrible to do that. But once you start, it's almost impossible.
Yeah. There's so many things that I want to ask you about. Just quickly, though, the Last Picture Show. What do you remember about working with Peter Bogdanovich? It was amazing. And again, the diversity from one to the other here.
I know when we came in from the garage after I'd been to the clinic, and we wait so long in the garage, and he doesn't know what to do to help, or what to do when I'm coming in. This is nothing, it's teeny tiny, but I do say, "Would you like a drink?" Well, I could come in for a drink. And I want to say, "Would you like to come in, have a Dr. Pepper?" I thought Dr. Pepper was better than a drink.
Absolutely.
I don't know what they ended up with, I think a drink, but I still like Dr. Pepper.
Now, see, I was thinking Dr. Pepper stayed in, but that, what do I know?
It might have been one of the versions. He has re-edited it beautifully. It's now just, it's seamless. I have really been fortunate to have been in, I think, 3 true classics. One is The Last Picture Show, the Young Frankenstein, and I had a little tiny part. I was one of the lovelies of the evening in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's another perfect
yes,
film.
absolutely.
There are other fun, wonderful things like High Anxiety and so forth, but those are
the gems that
well crafted.
Yeah. George Roy Hill, what was he like to work with?
How do you? Oh, because he directed. Oh, I loved him. I played Kitty Foyle in live television in New York, and he played my lover. And oh God, broke my heart. They burned all of those kinescopes. They don't have them
It's
anymore.
such a shame.
Isn't it terrible?
Can you tell us one story from the days of live television? I mean, that just must have been an intense experience.
Well, no, I'd say, shall I marry him or not?
Oh, right. That's right. It didn't ever faze you, right?
Oh, we had funny. One time, it's a Philco. Oh, well, one time it was a craft theater, Pink Strings and Sealing Wax, an English drama. And the chemist was English. His son and I have poisoned my husband. He's dead. Now I'm being caught by the father, who's the chemist. We had stolen poison from his chemist. Now he's got me, and I'm Cockney. And of course, there's no help. You just are on your own. Little girl from Iowa out in the country. I'm no Cockney. But anyway, he says, I have decided to let you go free. Why did he say that? He just caught me. And suddenly he forgot his lines. And so he said,
Oh, my God.
I have decided to let you go free. And I said, Camera's on me. I said, you don't mean it. He said, yes, I do. I said, you don't mean it. Yes, I do. You don't mean it. Well, they had planned, if anybody forgot, to pull your ear. So here comes the ear.
Yeah.
Turn off the sound. Give him the line. Sound comes back on. He says, I have changed my mind. I said, you don't mean it. I do. Takes me off to jail.
Oh, my goodness.
And one other time, the Philco show. Oh, my God. We've done this whole mystery thing. Now, the last 5 minutes, this man comes down this wide staircase. Very high, wide staircase. It's the slowest descent maybe in the history of man. You know. There are about 6 of us down there, 8 of us waiting. And he tells what it's all about, what's been going on. And finally he gets about halfway down, and one of the guys says, tell us, man, tell us. It's always put a man in, it's more, like real writing. Tell us, man, tell us. What, man? Tell us, man, tell us. I don't know what to say. Come on, man, tell us.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. If you drag it out, it's more like real writing.
Right, sure.
Let's take him off to jail. Okay, and we all take him off to jail. Nobody ever found him. 5 minutes short.
Oh, man.
We're out of there.
Woo. Wow. Those are great stories.
I was in As You Like It with Katharine Hepburn, out of town, getting ready to come to New York, which we did for a year. And I'm Celia, she's Rosalind, we're cousins. And there's about a page and a half of a young man coming in, and we fall in love. Well, here's the audience, we're all dressed. He enters, I run up to him and clasp him, full body clasp, turn my head upstage, don't say a single word. Not one single word. I couldn't remember my lines. Shakespeare.
Oh, no.
His face is to the audience. What's he going to say? How do you speak?
Yeah, you can't
Oh
improv
my God, you've
Shakespeare.
done that to him. And one time in the
Well, wait,
forest
what
scene-
happened? How'd you get out? How did you get out of it?
I didn't have to worry about it. I just one time somebody didn't enter while the hunters are in the forest scene. And, I guess he's on his way, and one of them says, "Oh." They give it such a, an air of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Oh, here he comes now. The worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, in that play, As You Like It, I had said to her, Katharine Hepburn's brother, Dick, who was the second stage manager on stage left, if I'm not downstairs by this line, it means I haven't heard it. There's no intercom or anything, and I went on the 4th or 5th floor up there, changing costume, wig, everything, with 2 other people and 4 other girls around. And all of a sudden, this one time, dead silence, my heart stopped. I just thought I was going to have a stroke. And I had to be down there right now. Oh my God, I tore out. And other people tore out too, and they had choked the stairway. I couldn't even get down. I just threw myself on them, and they passed me overhead down till I got down to the stage, off stage. And I said to Dick, quick, give me the poems. He said, get on stage. I said, give me the poems, get on stage. I said, give me the poems. And he shoved me on stage. She was standing there and had been there for a good 2 to 3 minutes, maybe.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, I don't know what she did. I don't know how she, and I don't know how we got through it. I didn't know them.
right.
I read them.
Oh, my goodness.
So I didn't have them, and somehow got through it. Off stage ride, round the back, over here. Then that scene was finished, then she came, and she said, you goddamn pig.
Oh, man.
I mean,
yeah, just kill me
oh
now.
my God, isn't that horrible?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. A few years ago, a man who was in that first play, John Loves Mary, Rodgers and Hammerstein play, took me to see Katharine Hepburn to her home, and she was all very clean and wrapped up in her wheelchair, and they wheeled her out. He talked about 5 minutes. She didn't say anything. Another 5 minutes chatting and talking and trying to be cheerful, and and then he suggested I talk, so I told her about this story, and finally she said, what about Dick? Or what about my brother? Well, you see, remember way back, I mean, we didn't go on with it, but that's how terrible it was, even then. I never got to
Really?
apologize or talk about it. But I always said, if I'm not down by this line,
Yeah.
and that line came and went many times.
boy.
It's terribly scary.
You've worked with so many wonderful actors over your career. What, in your opinion, what makes a good actor? What separates the good from the great? What makes a great actor?
I think there are people you just want to watch. They're fun to watch, they themselves. And you know you'll get something that you didn't expect, or maybe something you would expect because you know that's what he gives you. It could be something surprising, or it could be the same thing all the time. Who's the funny guy, English, who did Johnny English? He's Roland Atkins, yeah. He's the same all the time. He's hilarious. I can't wait to see him again, what he's going to do next. Jack Nicholson, you don't care what he's doing, you just want to watch him do it.
Right.
Or Meryl Streep, because there are many other people, but certain people you never get enough of them. I think it's what they bring of themselves.
You seem to be having as much or more fun in your career now than you ever have. Is that the truth? You certainly are busy. My goodness, you're working on a couple of films right now. Plus,
I have
Malcolm
4
in the
movies
Middle.
coming out.
4 movies. Plus, you're on a hit series.
Well, I do that once a season, something
Well,
maybe, of
still.
Malcolm.
Not bad. I think everybody here would like to have that career. Yeah. Anybody not want that? Yeah, okay. Are you enjoying it as much now or more?
I more than love it. I love it. I mean, it's, and I'm still doing things 30 or 40 years later. Ooh, that'd be better. I could.
Still discovering.
I had a real lesson one time. Charlie Chaplin came to the Actors Studio. I didn't know it, but somebody said, why don't you go out and sit with Charlie Chaplin? He's out in the 4 room.
Yeah.
And so I went out there. And my husband had known him and Paulette Goddard, and we both knew his son very well, Sidney and Charlie, earlier before he died. So I didn't feel strange or anything, but although I didn't really know him personally, I'd also seen him at a couple of parties. How do you do? Or hello, and George. And so we chatted a little bit, and by way of making conversation, obviously, I guess, I said, do Charlie Chaplin, a couple other people were there, do Charlie Chaplin for us. He said, oh, no, I can't. I said, oh, please. No, I can't. Oh, please, do Charlie Chaplin. No, you do it, he said. I can't do it. I mean, I I didn't even know what he did, really.
Yeah.
And I don't imitate people. So he said, you do it. I go, well, he got me up there. I don't know how he did it. So I got up, and I went to... And I sat down.
Yeah.
He said, no. What didn't I do?
Right.
What did I do? What was wrong? He got up. Wow. I'm going to imitate Charlie Chaplin, imitating Charlie Chaplin
Right.
under certain circumstances for me.
Okay.
Isn't that a lesson?
Yes, it is.
The lesson is,
Yes, it is.
as they say, go moment to moment. I skipped over. What? Whoever is stripped who doesn't see, what the fuck?
Excellent.
Isn't that wonderful?
That is. That is. That is.
I learned something from Annie Jackson at the Actors Studio. Once we were doing a scene where you have 5 minutes to come to this prison and see your husband once a year. Now, I know what I would have done, but they didn't call on me. I would have gone there sobbing. I mean, clinging, sobbing, just a puddle, a mass of, you know, all.
Yeah.
She came in, she sat down, she hugged him and sat down and talked about the children and the leaky gas heater and different things. She had a list of everything. She had 5 minutes. She was leading a life. She needed to, you know. And then she looked at him and went over and hugged him and kissed him again. Yeah. That was a big lesson for me to just, oh, hi, how are you? You know, and then you go on the scene. You do it, and then you look at him again, and in another different way maybe. You see him in a new way. Or, isn't that wonderful? That was, as a way of thinking. Right. You can find it in a different way in other circumstances. But that was a new surprise to me as a way of doing something.
And you're still finding things now as you're working. I love it. I love it.
Too.
Are you gonna?
That was fun.
Are
it's
you,
like a detective story or a detective. I mean, you get clues and you figure out something.
Yeah.
And the people you work with, it's wonderful to see.
You're up for another Emmy. Are you going to be there? Are you going to be there Sunday night?
Yes, but last Sunday they have what they call the Creative Awards, Technical Awards, and they put the guest star category there to pep up that one, and because they're so long in the other one. And I didn't get it.
I didn't know that.
Mercy.
How could that be?
Well, I've been nominated 4 times for that particular role, Ida, and I won it year before last, and so they say no one has ever gotten it twice. So you can say that, or maybe somebody was better. God forbid.
How could that be? We're just so delighted that you could take the time to be here with us today. The time went too quickly.
I guess none of us was busy doing anything else.
Ah, not at all. You're a wonderful person, and we're
you.
so delighted to,
Thank you
that you could come here and be with us today. Thank you.